up that old fossil.
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no moon.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vanity.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And we're still, I guess, are we still recovering from the Game of Thrones finale, or what's our feeling now?
I'm sad it's over.
Oh, yeah.
In that sense, I guess.
Is it now? But have people forgotten about it? The interesting tie into Star Wars here is, of course, those guys are now going on to make a Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah,
They're
are.
called D&D. Apparently, I was in my effort to market FanQuest to an audience who likes Dungeons and Dragons. I searched out the D&D hashtag on Twitter, and I found a lot of people talking about Benioff and Weiss, who are both named David, so they're called D&D. That's what they call them. Now D&D are going on to work on Star Wars. A lot of conversations around that, even though
a whole bunch of new fans who they can enrage with their creative ideas.
That's right. Oh man, yes, a whole new audience to piss off. But I would call them the Daves. Can we not just call them the Daves? Both their name is Dave.
Dave squared.
These are the Daves I know, right?
D squared. Let's just think about it a little.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway,
sure.
so those guys,
I'm happy with any short way because I never remember their last names.
Right.
So.
And of course, yeah. So we did have. Not that I want to talk too much about the finale. We'll probably have Sarah Khan back on to talk about. I don't want to wait. By the way, coming up this weekend. We have a 2-hour documentary about the making of Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
So we'll be able to see these guys in action. Yeah, that's what they're airing on Sunday in place of Game of Thrones. They're airing this documentary.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a 2-hour making of Game of Thrones, which is great because we've never really seen that.
Well, they have HBO runs these little what do you call them? Behind the scenes.
Yeah, on their
snippets.
On their YouTube channel, they have videos like that for sure.
Whatever those are called, but so we've seen a little of that, and I hope that the documentary goes deeper than what those snippets go.
I hope they show us how the water bottle got missed.
That's great. Although the water bottle's nothing. I mean, I still couldn't see it when people were showing it online.
You can barely see it. You have to really. I certainly did not notice it during the scene when it was on TV.
The Starbucks cup was more front and center.
It was, yeah, that's right.
But the water bottle was like barely. Like you have to be like. There's people watching every pixel of that show to sort of find something like that. It's funny. My guess is if we really gave that treatment to any show, we'd see that probably.
I guarantee you, if you went back through the previous seasons of Game of Thrones, you'd probably see stuff. If any show that has that many people, or even a film for that matter, that has that many people working on it, I'm sure that you'd find a lot of mistakes.
And of course, I mean, there's the classic, I think, is you see wristwatches in Spartacus, in the movie Spartacus. I believe that on some of those Romans, but these days, who knows, they might have even digitally removed them.
They could have, yeah.
But I think that was sort of like the urban legend back in the day. But I think that's why it's people who do stuff set in ancient times or in an alternate universe have to always be extra careful.
Right.
Whereas like a water bottle on Killing Eve is just a water bottle on Killing Eve,
right?
Because that's what the people use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the famous Star Wars example is, of course, the stormtrooper banging his head on the door.
Oh yeah.
That was something that I thought it was so. When I discovered that as a kid, and internet didn't exist. Nobody told me that happened. I just noticed it. Like
me too. I was like, wow.
What?
Yeah.
I could not believe that was in there. The stormtrooper just banged his head on the door because he couldn't see because he's got this stupid helmet on his head. But it was
Which
so
means
funny.
They wrote a novel about it. No, I'm just kidding. They probably did.
It's just so funny that makes it into the cut, which is clearly, I mean, they had to have noticed it, but it was probably the best take they could do.
Well, but also I think back in the day, because I noticed if you watch, and I do every once in a while, the Rockford Files is on TV, and that was a TV show in the 70s starring James Garner, and he'd race around Malibu in his souped-up car, and it was like the classic private investigator show, and I noticed so many continuity errors recently when they were running an old one, and I just caught a few minutes of it. I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we ever like this? And the answer was you couldn't rewatch it.
No,
it was like the first time it was shown was sometimes the last time it was shown, and people just they were just grateful for any entertainment.
And it's a weekly TV show. They don't have a ton of time to perfect this thing, so finish is better than perfect.
I was also watching one of my favorite classic movies is Annie Get Your Gun with Betty Hutton, where she plays she's Annie Oakley, and she's a little rough around the edges at the beginning of the movie, and she sits down to sing her musical number. And I was watching this on YouTube. She sits down, she opens her mouth, and then they cut to another shot, and she sits down and opens her mouth again and starts to sing. And it was kind of like close enough. I think back in the day, I think because it was so hard to edit film.
Oh, for sure. They had to lay the
Right.
film strips out there and do it by hand and cut, that kind of stuff. That's really... Yeah.
Right. So, and I saw that in Roxford Files. I saw him do the old close the car door, next cut, close the car door.
That's right.
He's always closing that car door.
Yeah.
But so I think by today's standards, it's an exacting standard now because everybody can rewatch and high def. Have you seen the new CNN lighting?
No.
Oh my God. They're like, if I were any of those on camera talent, I'd basically have to quit because every flaw in your face is just like it's too close.
Okay.
Like Don Lemon, you need a shave. Like there's a little bit of that. Yeah. So I think because a combination of high def, the ability to see little things and like little bigger screens, rewatching, freeze framing. Like freeze framing a VHS, remember that?
Oh God, it was jumpy.
Yeah,
I mean, Beta had a better one because Beta was higher quality. Like
Right.
you could get, I was amazed at how clear you could see the picture with Beta. My grandmother had a Beta machine, so I would go over to her house and watch movies on there. But yeah, for a VHS, it's jumping. You can't really see anything.
Yeah, the first time I remember the first time fast forwarding a PVR, and I was like, it was almost off-putting how clear it was.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what? Strange.
Okay, let's move on to our. This is funny because this is going to be the main topic, but it still is this week in Star Wars clickbait.
What? How? What are you talking about? Huh? What? Goodness gracious me.
The clickbait headline is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, the ultimate preview.
Ooh, is
And
this the Vanity Fair
This is the
article?
Vanity Fair piece you sent me earlier today. And the funny part about it is that you said as you walked into the studio here, it's like a whole lot of nothing. It's like
Well, the photos are something.
the photos are amazing.
Yes.
We get character names, we get new
And the captions are something. The photos and the captions are something.
Right, but the substance of the article itself is a
nothing.
bit of a recap of everything that's happened so far. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like here's what happened in the first movie. Yeah, we know this. We know how Star Wars was made. We know this story.
The original film chronicled Luke, a farm boy.
Originally, he was supposed to be an old person, then they revised it and all that other stuff. Like there's a lot of that going on.
Later, they renamed it Episode 4. Like there's all of that stuff. Yuck, yuck, yuck. So, it's an art. Yeah, it's and one of the things that who wrote it, by the way? Who's our author?
Let's see here.
Who did they send out?
Lev Grossman and Annie Leibovitz is the photographer.
Right. And Annie, all full credit to Annie and our pal who wrote this. Basically, I feel sorry for him because it's like you're gonna go out there and write a puff piece. And he goes, here's a spoiler I got from Anthony Daniels. And by the way, no spoiler warning because it's not a spoiler.
Well, it's two words.
Right. Anthony Daniels had trouble saying.
Oh, I don't know what
Can
it
you
is.
say common emblem.
Common emblem. Which
Oh,
apparently
he had
his
trouble.
first two words. But the beauty is that 3PO's lips don't move, so they can dub that in afterwards. And by the way, they can make him say whatever they want because his lips don't move. So it could be something completely different by the time the movie goes to theaters. So it's not a spoiler.
No, Luke, I bought some KFC in a bucket for you. And no one would ever know what the real until James Earl Jones shows up.
I think the thing is that he sets this up with like this paragraph about celebration. It was powerful enough to bring 65,000 people to Chicago in April for Star Wars Celebration. And he talks about how the main event was the launch of the trailer for The Rise of Skywalker, which was held in a 10,000-seat arena, and it was such a big deal, even though the trailer was going to be released on the internet literally seconds after it was over. I was not only tagged, wristbanded, escorted, and metal detected and sniffed by a K9 unit before I could go in. I think it sounds like he's making fun of that process, right? He's saying, this is a bit overkill, guys. This is just a movie trailer. Why are we getting so excited about it?
But it's also the classic journalists don't experience life as normal
That's
people.
right.
So when they do, it becomes news. So it's like when you see the local sports reporter has to buy his own tickets once in a while, that thing like, I was jostled on the way in. That's right. Like everybody.
Yeah. There was an annoying guy behind me shouting at the ref.
I have a class every year where we talk about, in PR class, we talk about, do journalists have a luxury view of life? And the answer is yeah, as this proves, because normally this person would be airlifted in. This person would not have to go through that process.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But yeah, great photos here. This first one here, which I love.
So let's go through the photos and the captions. I think is the important thing here. The story is really a nothing.
The first one is of just JJ directing Daisy Ridley. They did it in Jordan. Wadi Rum is the name of the name of the.
Not Tatooine.
Not Tatooine. Well, I mean, no, Wadi Rum is the actual name of the place. It's not the name of the place in the movie.
Oh, I thought it was.
No,
that's actually. Are you sure?
Yeah,
that's what it says.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How did I miss that?
There's a desert valley in southern Jordan called Wadi Rum, or sometimes the Valley of the Moon. That's the name of the place. So it's not the name of the planet. So just a set photo.
I read it so fast that I missed that.
It's interesting that they talk about, like, even though they were on location in this desert, they still had a green screen there, which is, like, there's a little, it was very confusing. I had to reread it a couple times before I understood it. But they have, like, a Oscar Isaac paraphrasing J.J. Abrams, which is never a great way to get things. But the reason they do the green screen is because the lighting looks better if you're actually on location, and then you can use the green screen to put in the background stuff like spaceships and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I assume.
So it's just a reality of modern filmmaking.
It is, yeah, for sure. So then,
but I like real sets and practical.
That's right. Well, that was what the first one was all about. This one,
and
they're
by
doing
the way,
green
you
screen.
just went past the biggest scam in the magazine business.
Oh, this is the multiple covers.
The two covers. What side are you? Light side or dark
side? Is that
side?
it? There's only two.
That's only two.
Okay.
But it's the classic. Buy both.
Well, of course, collectors will buy both.
If they have 7 covers, collectors probably aren't going to buy 7 issues.
I think they found that out.
But
last
they'll buy
time.
2.
Yeah, I think they've gone a little too far with this in the past.
Yeah.
I remember they did have like something like 6 or 7 covers in the past, maybe for the Force Awakens one, and it was like, no, people aren't going to buy that many. But yeah, they'll buy 2. They'll buy the Kylo Ren and the Rey for sure. They're both great photos.
Yeah, they're slightly different uniforms, but not that different.
No.
Slightly different.
Yeah. And then we go to the next photo, which is get me really excited because it's the Knights of Ren. It's
That's
JJ
the photo.
directing the Knights of Ren, so it looks like the Knights of Ren are in this movie in a more substantial way, presumably, than they were in the first film.
And there is only one thing in this article that could be constitute news, but I actually think this could just be the writer's opinion. In the article, they say that the journalist, that in the trailer we see Kylo Ren taking down Knights of Ren. So that forest scene.
Okay.
The writer says that's what we're seeing there, but it's unclear if somebody told him that's what we're seeing there, or if that's what he thinks we're seeing there.
Although he doesn't seem to be the biggest Star Wars fan, so maybe somebody told him that. But again, whoever told him that might be their opinion. I don't think that's.
I mean, these brutes that we see. So this is our first daylight shot of the Knights of Ren, like in their uniforms in daylight doing their thing, and they look super cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And they look like brutes, and they kind of. I think what we see in the Star Wars trailer, in the Rise of Skywalker trailer, is it looks more like someone wearing a burlap sack kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't quite look like this, but I mean, you could easily put a poncho on these guys. Why would they need a poncho?
I don't know. They're in the middle of the desert. They don't look like they're dressed for the heat.
So maybe
this
that's
looks like a very hot outfit here to be wearing in the middle of the desert.
So this is the scene where one of them goes, "Is it chilly? Should I bring a light jacket? Should I wear a poncho?"
Yeah.
That's a cool shot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That to me, that's
one of
worth the price of admission just to see that.
I'd say it's my favorite shot, but there's one coming up.
Okay, well, this one's cool too. This is a shot of Kerry Russell as the reveal name now, Zori Bliss, which is seen in the Thieves' Quarter of the snow-dusted world Kijimi? Whatever. So this is a world we've never heard of before. No. Sounds a little bit like a Mos Eisley Cantina kind of a situation. Where it's like
not again,
scum and villainy. Although, okay, I didn't get when we went to the bar to what's her face's place, Maz Kanata's castle,
right
in the Force Awakens. I did not get a cantina vibe as much as they were going for that. I mean, it was a cantina scene in that it was like a bunch of aliens in a bar, but it was not the hive of scum and villainy that Mos Eisley was. Right?
No.
It did not feel like a bunch of evil people hanging around waiting for crime jobs or whatever. Like that was not what that was.
No, it looked more like a CGI meetup of rejects from Lord of the Rings.
That's right.
But there was also in that scene Lin-Manuel Miranda's song.
Yes,
remember?
It's opening to our headline segment there.
So what I want to know is, does Lin-Manuel Miranda provide any music for this particular Thieves' Den? Are we going to hear like
maybe
a little?
Maybe we will. Maybe JJ will get back. And JJ also wrote a song with him, right?
Some Alexander Hamilton rap, except
right.
Replaced with what's her name again?
Kerry Russell.
No, but what's her
character's name is Zori Bliss. It looks her. I gotta say, this is just off the top of my head. Her costume does look a bit much like the Rocketeer, a little Rocketeerish.
Rocketeer
vibe
meets Boosh Bounty Hunter.
That's right. Yeah.
Meets maybe a little Boba Fett in there.
Yeah.
But very shiny, chromy.
But we're also not seeing her straight on, so we don't know really what the rest of that visor looks like. We assume that it's like a black. All the way across.
And I want to point out something here among new characters. We now have somebody with the last name that doubles as another word in English, which is bliss. Okay, so she brings us all pleasure.
Is that right? Is that what
hang on. Get ready. What's the next one? Yeah, okay. So we have Bliss, and now here we see Richard E. Grant. And what's his last name?
Pride.
Pride and Bliss.
Yeah, Allegiant General Pride, Pryde, and his First Order leader is General Hux, and it's him. It's like I thought it was like a father. It looked like a father and son shot.
Maybe it could be
There
father-son.
was talk, by the way, going back to the Aftermath books. There was no, I'm sorry, it was not. Was it after? Yeah, it was one of the Aftermath books. They talk about how Hux's father was the one who kind of ran the brainwashing facilities to brainwash stormtroopers. So you know how they went from clones to stormtroopers, but our mind control. I don't remember how he refers to it. He refers to it in The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
it's Hux's dad who does that.
Right,
he's in charge of that. So maybe he's Hux's dad, but wouldn't his name be Hux as well?
Well, you never know, right?
Is Hux's first name or last name, by the way?
General Hux. So last name.
Last name. Okay, what's his first name?
We've heard it, or I've read it. I'm not sure which. Is it in the movie?
I don't know.
Yeah. Last name, but still could be. Are you looking it up?
I'm looking it up. Go ahead.
That's something we should know, shouldn't we? What
Armitage. Armitage Hux.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I never would have guessed that in a million years. It's like Army Hammer.
That's right.
Okay, Armitage Hux.
So that's not his dad.
And they also give this guy's military title Pride.
It says Allegiant General. I don't know what that means.
By the way, if his first name is Gay, then that will make him fan service. Get ready for the haters. That's just fan service.
This is on the bridge of Kylo Ren's destroyer. So is this a new ship that we had not seen before?
Well, yeah, I don't think Kylo Ren had his own destroyer.
We started with his own shuttle in the first movie. Then he had his own fighter in the second movie. And now he has his own destroyer. It's just another toy they can sell. But he just kind of seems to be upgrading his ships as we go. His own personal fleet.
It sounds like the career path at Red River College, pretty much. Destroyer is where you end, or a destroyer kills you. It's one or the other. But I like that shot. That's a good shot.
It is, and Richard E. Grant looks great. He really looks. I knew when they announced his casting, we knew he was going to be a First Order trooper or First Order commander.
Does he appear to be sitting in is he immobile in that chair? Does it look like it's?
No, his legs are crossed.
Oh, okay.
So I think he's just sitting down.
I thought he might.
It's at the boardroom table.
On the little, I only saw it on my phone screen, so I wasn't sure. I thought he might be on a hover chair.
No, I think he's just sitting there. He's just like they're having a meeting. You know, this is like the kind of meeting where Darth Vader would choke somebody out for dissing him. This is the same kind of a boardroom.
It looks like he's in charge.
Yeah,
the guy sitting.
Yeah, I think he'd be in charge.
How would he be in charge when we left? When we said goodbye in the last movie, we saw that Kylo Ren was now in charge of the fleet.
Supreme Leader Kylo Ren.
Right, but then Hux was second in command. It appeared, and they were arguing a little bit about where to take the walker. Yeah. So where did this guy come in? How did this guy get his job?
This is so. And again,
I thought he might be Thrawn.
Well,
remember,
if he had blue skin, he would be, but
he's not.
We still have a lot of remnants of the Empire out there, and I think that's what the First Order has been kind of cobbled together from the leftovers of the Empire. The Aftermath books cover that a little bit as far as like how they brought it all back together and how they formed the First Order. By the way, we're apparently going to learn that one of the things this article reveals is that we're going to learn more about the First Order and how they formed in this movie. That's going to be covered, so we haven't learned that yet, really, and how they are not just another version of the Empire, because they seem to be another version of the Empire.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why wouldn't you create different types of stormtrooper uniforms or different types of soldiers, right?
Well, they're neo-Nazis. You know what I mean?
I suppose the regular Nazis, neo-Nazis,
they're the fans.
The new Nazis.
They're the fans of the original Nazis, I think.
Right. That's right.
Well, that's sort of what Kylo Ren is. Up until that, there's some speculation, and it's just bullshit. This isn't a spoiler because it's just fans talking out of their asses as usual. but there's some speculation that maybe Kylo Ren's plan all along was to appear like a villain when in fact he's not.
I don't buy it.
No, you wouldn't take it this far.
I would assume not. Right? They took down Snoke. He had no reason to continue on after that, right? Mm-hmm. If you take out Snoke, that's the highest person.
Then he could have revealed then.
Yeah.
Maybe he did.
We thought he was going to. That was the big surprise. Because during The Last Jedi, we were kind of meant to think that, he's forming this connection with Rey.
Yeah.
She's trying to bring him back to the light. And then she fails. And that was the big reveal. And that was the big disappointment for a lot of fans, is that he did not redeem himself. I don't think we're going to have Kylo Ren redeem himself in this film. I think he's going to probably die at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be redeemed at all. So
no, I think that's the way he can. The only way he can be redeemed at this point is to die. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Darth Vader.
And maybe, by the way, and it talks a little bit about Leia in this and how JJ wrote new scripts around the existing scenes to make Carrie Fisher's scenes that were cut from The Force Awakens seem, new, new context. And so Leia is still alive in this movie at some point. And whether or not she dies, I don't know. But
well, it could be a flashback too. But I
don't think that's what it is.
No,
I think it's going to be a
either.
new scenes. They made sure the lighting matched. They do it, and Billy Lourd, her daughter, is in the scene.
Yeah.
So there is all that stuff. So I think this is a new scene. But maybe the one weakness Kylo Ren seems to have is Leia. Right? It's the one he did not fire upon the ship when he sensed his mom's presence on the ship.
Right.
So maybe that's how he somehow redeems himself, is to save his mother's life or something like that. We don't know.
Well, that could be. But the other thing at work here that we've learned is you can't believe anything J.J. Abrams says.
No.
Because he said Gwendolyn Christie was the best actor in The Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
And then cut her role out almost completely, which I think the reason he was saying she's the best actor was to mitigate the fact that he destroyed her role. He cut it down entirely.
Well, yeah.
And so here where he's like, oh, we have to worry about the light shadow, and then Billy Lourd is in the shot with her. It's not, we're building this up in our minds to be something that could be a 2-second.
Yes, for
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yep.
So you always have to keep that in mind.
Yep.
Especially with J.J. Abrams.
Yeah,
he
you're right.
tends to play up stuff that really isn't. That ultimately turns out to not be noteworthy.
Very true.
What was that?
Next photo is just a kind of another set photo of they got 3PO, Chewie. They talked, of course, to Anthony Daniels and to Junis. What's his last name again?
Wookiee.
Junis Wookiee? No, Junis. Junis Suotamo. Who did play some of the parts in The Force Awakens, the more action-y parts, and then took over completely after that. So he's actually been Chewbacca in 4 movies by now.
I know, it's crazy.
It's crazy, hey? Is he in? Wait, 1, 2, 3. I guess including this one and Solo,
Yeah.
but he was not in Rogue One. But yeah, that's just like it's already been 4 movies for this guy. And he seems to be doing pretty well as Chewbacca. It says he's a mime character, and that's what he does. I guess in that minimalism comes the beauty of the character, meaning he doesn't have a lot of dialogue. You can't understand what he says. And there's not like a whole lot of repeating back in these movies as far as like, I know that I'm supposed to do this. Like, you know what I mean? Which is kind of what they used to do early on with that character. Han reacting to Chewie by repeating what he says, kind of thing, which is not happening as much. We have Anthony Daniels. They talk about Billy D. Williams being on set.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, I don't know. Matt doesn't seem to be right here. People tend to remember Lando for the deal he cut with Vader in The Empire Strikes Back rather than for his redemptive comeback in Return of the Jedi. And Williams appears to have spent the last 45 years defending him. It's been less than 45 years since that movie came out, right?
When
1983 was
coming up on the 40th anniversary of
Return of the Jedi. Yeah. So I don't know.
40th of Empire Strikes Back. Right.
So I think maybe that's a typo. I don't know why he says that, but so I guess people don't like Lando. Is that what he's supposed to be telling us there?
Well, it's kind of like a celebration when they said isn't it a celebration where he said, well, everyone got out alive. What's the problem?
Yeah. No, he says that here too.
Yeah.
So you can tell he's told that story a bunch of times.
Yeah. It would be you'd have go-to lines, I'm sure, like based on what
nobody
fans
died.
say.
It's all good.
Yeah,
so,
but Lando was a dirty rat
that's
in
the point,
in Empire Strikes Back, but then he does have a turnaround, and he does. And by the end of the film, I mean, he helps rescue Luke Skywalker.
That's right.
At the end of that film. So I don't think there's any confusion about where we're going with this.
No, I know. I just think it's interesting that, and I guess they do tend to remember him more from Empire because he's kind of got a bigger role in Empire, but I think he's great in Jedi. And
he has less to do in Jedi, but it's awesome.
Some of my favorite scenes in that movie are those scenes where they attack the Death Star, and that's what they look to be recreating here. They've got this great photo coming up of, where is it here? Oh, yeah, here it is. It's Poe, Chewie, and Lando in the cockpit of the Falcon there. And it looks so cool. It just looks awesome. There's BB-8 in the background there. So that's another great photo.
Lando hasn't changed his clothes since about 50 years.
The same cape, same
Solo.
It's the same exact outfit. Yeah, it's true.
Do you think they did that to sort of there might even be a joke about it.
Probably, yeah. Maybe
in the film, now that I think about it. But they might...
Think about the joke they made about Han Solo's jacket in The Force Awakens, right? Same new jacket or whatever.
New jacket. That's right. Same jacket, new jacket.
Yeah. New hair. Yeah. Anyway.
New Jack City.
Okay. So that's another great photo. I skipped over a couple more set photos here, but these are all typical.
Yeah.
You could probably like. This looks actually like the old school speeder
The skiff.
that Luke rode it around in the first film a little bit.
Yeah, speeder or skiff. I mean, there's a shot in the trailer that has that in it, just briefly.
We have some cool shots here
yeah.
of Finn and what's her name, Jana.
Do they have her full name there? Or?
It says, Naomi Aki is the name of the actress. Jana is the only name we have, and she's not allowed to say anything else about her character, which I think means she's Lando's daughter. No, I'm just joking. Finn and new ally Jana atop hardy Orbaks, which look like space horses.
Like from the last movie, they look something like that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Lead to charge against the mechanized forces of the First Order. So what does that mean? Mechanized forces of the First Order. We got battle droids coming back?
It's just more vague language that... No, I don't think so. I don't think that that's a thing. I just think it's the way... it's the vague way you describe something when you're not allowed to get into details. I think it's that simple.
Then the next one here is a shot of Kylo Ren and Rey battle it out with lightsabers in a stormy confrontation. Their force connection, what Driver calls their maybe bond, will turn out to run even deeper than previously revealed.
That's a great shot.
It is. What do you
One
think
of the
it
best
means?
ones.
What do you think it means?
I don't know.
I think it means they're related. No?
Oh, they're brother and sister.
Yeah,
I know that. Well, I've been saying that.
I know you have, but they have not revealed
that's
that.
That's not news. They know that I've been saying that for the past.
They know that, right?
That's right. For the past 8 years, I've been saying that.
Yeah. And here's another good shot of 3PO. It's amazing he still does that.
Yeah.
Like they could totally do that as
God.
They could totally do it as like one of those ping pong ball suits or whatever, and make it look fine. But
anybody could be in there. Any thin person could be in there.
But he still does it. He gets in the suit. That kind of speaks to the tradition of Star Wars that they still do it that way.
You sort of get the sense with him that he'd starve himself before letting somebody else go.
I think so. Yeah.
Go into that suit. Keep going. We're getting to my favorite photo. No.
That one already. We talked about that one.
Keep going.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a nice one, but not my favorite.
This is like it says
aliens in the desert.
Jordanian locals play the Aki Aki, natives of the planet Pasana, Pasaana, Pasana.
Another new one.
That's a new planet that they're on.
That's cool.
Yeah,
they look cool.
They do.
This could be like an Edrios 2-tube scenario where they're in the background or something, but they definitely are cool.
Yeah, very cool looking aliens. It's John Williams.
Yeah, keep going. Yay, hooray for John Williams, by the way. That's the one.
Is this a photo from the new movie?
Yes, it is.
What?
I know.
Mark Hamill as Luke with R2-D2. Speculation is rampant about who will rise on the Skywalker of the movie's title and how that choice will reflect the way the world has changed since Star Wars debuted in 1977.
Now, this could be a flashback from the burning temple scene.
It can't be because Luke's old in this.
That's right. So it can't be, I think.
It can't be. This is Luke. This is not young Luke. This is not projection Luke, right?
Does it look like it, does it?
No, because in the crate he had like dark hair and he wasn't old. So this
but I imagine he could project himself to be whatever.
However he wants, yeah.
But this does not look like a projection, does it?
No, it's like just him and R2-D2 sitting there and there's fire all around them.
And it definitely looks, I don't know, it looks like he's there.
There's no Force Ghost thing around him. They could take that out though.
Although I need to watch Last Jedi again because those Yoda scenes I kind of blanked out on at the time. But how pronounced? Like there's a scene where Yoda touches Luke in The Last Jedi. But how big is the glow around Yoda at that point?
It's noticeable. Yeah, I remember it being noticeable. I'd have to rewatch it again to be sure. But I know that it was clear that he was a Force ghost in that scene. So,
they're showing us this picture. Kind of, I think when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, that's the temple scene. But the more you look at it, and is that Luke's metal hand, by the way?
Sorry, I bumped it.
Is that a metal hand we see there?
No, that's a glove. Well, it's a glove.
Is it a glove?
Which hand got chopped off? That's his right hand. So his right hand got chopped off?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that would be his metal hand. It's just got a glove over it, though.
It's a glove, okay.
I think he usually puts a glove on it.
Okay, I was just wondering, like a ghost wouldn't need that, but
would his hand come back as a ghost?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like,
how does this work?
A metal ghost hand? Well, wait a second.
It's like Hayden
Christensen probably had one.
That's right. So Hayden Christensen had all his arms cut off, all his limbs cut off, pretty much, except for the one. And
We've never considered this.
he appears as himself, as Anakin, when he appears to Luke. He does not appear as Darth Vader.
The pre-dismembered guy.
Let's.
So this could be pre-dismembered guy. So you could wait a sec. I got to think about this. Can you restore all of your limbs?
I think
you certainly wouldn't have a metal.
My theory is that you could appear when you're a Force ghost, when you're living as part of the Force, which is presumably what happens when you die, right? You're still living, but you're part of the Force. You can manifest as however you want. So Anakin appears as his good self because he was redeemed at the end of the movie. So he was back to being Anakin Skywalker.
I don't think you could appear as a dark project. Oh, maybe you could. As a dark projection of your, like if you're a Jedi, you would not project yourself as, like, say, Darth Vader.
No, you would. But if it was an evil person, like the Emperor, as a Force ghost,
which we've never seen a Sith do,
which we could see in this movie, that could be what the Emperor is.
To be
in this.
something like that.
Something like that.
There's no way he's physically alive.
You don't think so?
Well,
they could do the clone thing.
It would require explanation, and I don't know how that would go down. Clone.
Clone technology. He has a bunch of clones waiting for him to.
They got to be careful around that stuff. Like Star Wars hasn't really sort of ruined that. Like the midi-chlorians for a lot of people ruined it.
Right.
But what would really ruin it is to basically say, like in the trailer, Luke says, no one's ever really gone.
Right.
Okay. The way to ruin that is to basically be able to conjure up absolutely anybody who's died in the Star Wars universe. So it's like it doesn't matter when somebody dies anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter if somebody who can control the Force dies.
Right.
And I would imagine you have to be at a pretty high level of Force userness to be able to do that. Like only a true Jedi Master would do it. So Rey probably couldn't. Kylo Ren probably couldn't, but the Emperor and Luke could. You have to be a high level to be able to do that.
Right.
Right?
That's what I would I'd prefer it being something that not
everybody can do. Yeah.
No, not that what I don't want is like the Death Star piece landed on this planet. And of course what I want doesn't matter, but I mean I just think Star Wars gets into trouble when they start explaining things. It's better magical and mysterious, I think, in Star Wars.
Okay.
Like the less we know about the Force the better. The more rules there are on the Force, it gets kind of.
Yeah.
I think it starts to become depressing.
Yeah,
because
for
then
sure.
the rule, blah, blah, blah. In episode 6, the rule is blah, blah, blah. So the more mysterious it is, the better I think it is. But I don't want them to go like, local townsfolk took the body of the Emperor or got his DNA. Like I don't want that.
No, and this is again going from the Dark Empire series. He basically has a bunch of clones on hand, already grown and ready to go, and he can transfer his consciousness into them, which is kind of seems like a pretty emperor-y thing to do. But I think that a simpler explanation would be that he's just a Force ghost. Right,
but clones and ghosts do exist in the Star Wars universe. So it's got to be one of those, one or the other.
Yeah.
Have we ever seen anyone possessed?
Nope. That'd be an interesting
possession.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting thing.
I don't know. That's true. Actually, we've never seen a Jedi Knight like make a stormtrooper go do something, like control the action.
Just suggest them.
Yeah,
like mind control as far as like those aren't the droids you're looking for.
You can make them leave.
Right.
But could you make them or whatever?
Could you actually directly control their actions? Yeah.
Get confused, but we've never seen that. We've never seen like I'm controlling that guy down there and I'm making him push these buttons.
Yeah. No. Interesting.
So I'm wondering, it's got to be some combination of those things, I think, for the Emperor to return. But I also think it would be horrible to have Ian McDiarmid on hand and not to actually use in some way the physical embodiment of him.
Yeah.
Because he's so good.
Oh, for sure.
He's one of the best actors, I'd say, in the original Star Wars.
Yeah,
trilogy.
I agree.
He's just
really
so good.
Yeah.
And by the way, I like to point out he's in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels as the butler. He's the butler.
That's right. There you go. That's the piece. So nothing. Again, it's very the photos and captions are great. The just a bunch of like vague things. They're not releasing a lot of information about this movie, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I really don't want them to. When do you think we're going to get another trailer, like a proper trailer?
Well, I think we should have seen this coming, this Vanity Fair thing.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because now I think we're just on the regular track as we're used to this movie coming out. So the old Force Friday, the old trailer at the football game in September, or is that September when that happened?
Yep.
So that stuff, like the old Now we got the TV spots going into the end of November. I think it's going to be
the branded chicken nuggets again and all that stuff in
Oh,
the
yeah.
grocery stores.
Yes.
Star Wars brand everything in the stores.
I think it's now business as usual zone now that this has come out. Like I wasn't thinking about this, but we probably could have. We probably could have seen that this was coming out, and I certainly didn't expect it this morning when I checked Twitter, and it was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And I quickly looked and by the way, it's 2 free articles on Vanity Fair now. And so I loaded it 2 or 3 times, and then I was like, now game over. Now I couldn't read it. Yeah.
Oh.
So then I had to read it once through Twitter. To read it, I had to click on a link on Twitter so it wouldn't count. Like there's a bunch of tricks.
Yeah, I can use incognito tab
Right.
to do that.
And then I
sometimes.
wanted to pin the photos on Pinterest, my last Star Wars board that I will do because it's impossible to sustain this.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so I'll post those on Pinterest, and then like before you know it, you've read it twice. You've clicked on it twice. So do it sparingly and look at the photos and read the captions. But the rest of that article, any Star Wars fan is not going to be surprised by anything in this article. We could have written this article.
Yeah.
And speculated without even meeting anybody on the set,
Yeah, for sure. I didn't watch the Phantom Menace on the anniversary. Like I
was
said,
looking. I was watching to see if you were going to do.
I didn't have time that day. It was a very, very busy day. But we did see Pablo tweeting about it. Pablo
Yes.
Hidalgo tweeting about it and telling the same story that you told about
Yep.
going to see the preview and riding the bus and all that other stuff.
Yep.
So that was really cool to see. Talking about getting a pass. Chris Schiffman chimed in as well with his story about.
He was at the same showing.
He got his at the last minute apparently or
Yeah.
something like that, which is kind of cool. And I think he's told that story on our podcast before.
Yeah.
So yeah, very nice reminiscing. I don't think anybody's reminiscing about the quality of the film, but they're still like the experience of going to see it was something to. It was a really big deal, and everyone was very, very excited.
I tweeted 10 things that I remember. I didn't watch it again, but I tweeted the 10 sort of biggest takeaways when I think about the Phantom Menace. And really the main one, and I listed it as number 10, my last thought was the feeling of, is this good or is this great? Is this terrible? And maybe I need to go see it again. That's what I remember the most about that movie. Like the confusion about, is it a good movie or a bad movie? I don't remember there being confusion like that for any other Star Wars. Maybe now, but back in the day, there wasn't.
I haven't felt that. I did feel that same confusion, but I have not felt that confusion about these new ones that have come out. These have all been very good. And by the time the Attack of the Clones came out, I was very firmly in the this is bad camp. Like I did not, and again that remains my least favorite Star Wars movie, the Attack of the Clones, just because I think it's horrible. But yeah, at the time, it's like that thing where you really want to like something so much.
Yeah.
You've built up the hype so much that you cannot possibly let yourself be disappointed with it. But
the quality bar at that point for Star Wars was unrivaled for any film series. Even The Godfather, where part 1 and part 2 were kick-ass, and part 3 was like, what? Part 3 was for The Godfather, was like Phantom Menace for Star Wars, where it was like, what is happening? How come all the good stuff we loved is gone?
Well, that was another case of like them, releasing a sequel years after, more than a decade out. It was in the 90s, wasn't it? The Godfather Part 3? Early 90s?
Good God, I blocked it.
It was like 10 or 15 years after the original. The first 2 were made back to back pretty much, and the third one came out way later. And yeah, it was absolutely one of those things where they've lost the magic, right? They did not, we're not able to recapture that feeling of the first 2 movies, and that could be said for the Phantom Menace as well.
Well, one of the problems in The Godfather that the Phantom Menace doesn't have is you got the sense in part 3 that Francis Ford Coppola, so many of the shots are long shots of people in shadow. And you get the sense like he had no idea what he was doing with the story. So later on, the dialogue was patched in and it didn't matter. So the long shot with the shadows was to hide the fact we don't really know what we're saying here. It's like, don't worry, we'll put it in later. And it just doesn't come together.
Okay.
Whereas I think part of the problem on the Phantom Menace, and I don't think I don't think any Star Wars fan would disagree that it's not a perfect film. I think we could go so far as to say it's not perfect Star Wars. It has its flaws. And I think the flaws that come in that movie are from George Lucas's fascination with the new technology over the fascination with getting the story perfect.
Yeah. He was
I think
so
that
excited
was-
about being able
right.
to, he could bring his vision to life, which he did very
Yeah.
well. And, I know that it kind of looks dated by today's standards, but at the time it was very, very good. And we were all very impressed with the quality of the special effects. But shooting an entire film on green screen, I think it was actually blue screen back then. I don't think it was green. They used blue screen for a long time. I'm not sure why they made the switch, but
I don't know why either.
someone could tell me why that is.
Could be yellow. I mean, who cares?
It doesn't matter. You can key out any color, really,
Right.
but there's a certain reason why they use green. Anyway, so that whole thing, and now again, that's very common practice these days on pretty much every major movie that has any kind of digital effects. But back then, it was pretty new, and I think it was a struggle for the actors as well, trying to get into their headspace when there's nothing around them. They have no scenery or no set to use in their performance, which I think Ewan McGregor complained about after the fact.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's, I will watch it. I'll probably rewatch all of them before the next one comes out at some point. But it's still, again, it's about the experience of going to see it. It's about where you were when it first came out. I know many people hadn't even been born. Obviously there's a whole generation of people that were not born when the Phantom Menace came out, right, in 1999. So that's kind of a thing in itself. It's been, I can't believe 20 years have gone by so quickly.
Yeah.
It seems like crazy that much time has gone by, but... Anyway,
I also have to point out that my least favorite Star Wars character is in Phantom Menace, and it's not Jar Jar, it's Captain Panaka. The naysayer of Star Wars. And that was my number one on my list, where it's just like, why? Why does he have to hate everything and say, I can't do it, and I disagree, and we're no match for them? And it's weird.
Now, you're the only person I know that has picked up on that.
Nobody really
seems to
drives
notice.
me insane, and maybe that's the reason why I dislike him more than Jar Jar.
Okay,
is that nobody really is just kind of like the unknown naysayer of Star Wars.
Well, maybe that was the plan, though, is to have somebody in there to represent the audience's feeling of, we can't do this, and this guy's voicing those objections, and then they're getting overruled and proven wrong. Yeah, that's a common thing. You have to try and find someone for the audience to identify with at times, and I think certain times in the movie, the audience is like, no, you can't do this, and Captain Panaka is meant to voice that concern.
But he's almost Sith-like in his approach to I hate everything.
Yeah, he is a negative as hell.
Yeah.
He really, nothing is good enough. And by the way, I've met people in real life who are like that.
Right.
So it's not an uncommon personality trait at all.
It's like me at work, basically. This isn't going to work. This is a dumb idea. Is this ever going to amount to anything? That's me at work. Yeah. That's my thought process at work. But that's everybody's thought process at work, I think. Sometimes I voice it, though.
That's right.
And the character I didn't mention in the tweets, but who we have to mention too, Rick Oley. Do you remember Rick Oley?
No.
He is the guy. And why I love Rick Oley is because remember that a first wave of Star Wars figures came out for Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And the figures were like, oh my God, we're back to figure land.
Yep.
And I was like anybody. I went to visit my friend in San Francisco actually the week after they came out. And I just bought, they had everything. Like, I remember going to whatever the toy store was downtown there and just buying it up and just be like, oh my God. And one of the figures that had the most speculation around it was Rick Oley, who, by the way, is the pilot of the ship. The guy with the receding hairline.
Big sideburns?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was nothing. He was a nothing role.
He's like the Captain Zuvio or whatever.
Well, he has a line, unlike Captain Zuvio.
Okay.
But that figure was like, I remember looking at it and being like,
Constable Zuvio.
This guy, imagine what this guy does in the movie and like how cool it's gonna be and he's clearly with the rebellion. Ooh, what's gonna happen? This is gonna be so cool. And then in the movie, he's basically just some middle-aged guy
It's
flying
a chauffeur.
around.
That's
right.
it. Yeah.
He has nothing to do. He really has nothing. And so Rick Oley, when I think about Phantom Menace, all the speculation around that guy, and just like what a nothing that turned out to be. In fact, I kept of all the figures I had from Phantom Menace in the packaging, the only ones I cannot part with are Jar Jar Binks, which I still have in the package because I'm like, oh, this is too ridiculous to get rid of. And the other one is Rick Oley because it's just like when I look at, to me, that figure sums it all up. Where it's like, what the F? Why?
It's the same. Constable Zuvio is another example of that, except he got completely cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
So it just kind of illustrates the disconnect between the toy makers and the movie itself.
And he was a 6-inch figure.
Right.
He was like a Black Series premium.
Yeah.
And nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they don't know that though. They don't know he probably had more lines that they cut out.
Right.
He probably had a bigger role and they had to cut for time or something. So
I kind of like that somebody's got to be that account manager in between Lucasfilm
And Hasbro or
And
whatever.
Hasbro, there's got to be somebody who has that role. And they're like, all right, we're going to let you guys know. This is for your eyes only. We're going to give you all the key characters. You're going to want to make figures of all these. And then so they lay them all out, and they're like, oh, that one's cool. That one's cool. And they probably pick and choose which ones they're going to do. Then the movie comes out, and then that guy's probably like, does not answer phone calls. Like a true account planner, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like a true account planner. It's like, ring. Oh, no. Oh, crap. They look at the call display. No. That's right. It's Hasbro. What should I tell them?
Oh, well. Anyway. All right. Well, I think that's, again, I'm as excited as I ever was. This article did not get me more excited. It's cool to reveal little pieces of it, but I'm happy knowing as little as possible about this film. I'm happy to speculate, and all will be revealed in December.
In the past, the print edition of the magazine, I think, may have had one or two photos that weren't in the digital one.
Ah, okay.
I remember how they used to roll it out one photo at a time.
Yes, they did that last time. Yes,
right, and just drive us insane.
Yeah.
So I'll look when I see this in the grocery store, which is where I see Vanity Fair now. I'll check it out.
Okay.
I'll see if there's anything different.
That sounds good.
And even, by the way, there's links at the bottom of the article. They're not good.
Okay.
There's nothing there. Same thing.
Clickbait.
Yeah, by the way, 2 free articles. Here's 4 links. They're just bastards.
That's the reality of the magazine world these days, in the digital world.
I curse whoever the editor is now after Graydon Carter. I curse that person.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
That's no moon.
Now I